Today's topic, we're going to talk about writing and solving ratios and proportions. So you might ask yourself, what is a ratio? A ratio is where we use division to compare two quantities, and you can write the ratio in three different ways. The three ways you can write a ratio are in word form, like 10 to 4, ratio form, 10 to 4, or fraction form, 10 over 4, where the fraction form shows the division. So if you look at our example here, we have 5 girls and 15 boys. We're going to compare these girls to these boys using a ratio. So we're going to use division to compare these girls to these boys. So in this figure we have 5 girls to 15 boys. So we can write it 5 to 15, or we can write it as 5 over 15 as a fraction. Alright, and this is just a ratio. It's just comparing the number of girls to the number of boys. 5 girls to 15 boys. In this example, we got the 10 to 4 and then 10 over 4. We're comparing 10 tigers to 4 lions. Okay, so a ratio is just when we use division to compare two different quantities. So you might ask yourself, what is a proportion? A proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equivalent. What it does is it sets one ratio equal to another ratio. You're comparing two things that are being compared with division, and you're setting it equal and saying it's equal to two other things that are also being compared in division. You're saying that one ratio is equal in the other ratio, and that's what a proportion is. We can solve proportions by what we call cross multiplication. So if we're looking at this first example, what we can do is solve this equation by getting rid of the denominator of a fraction. So just like we've talked about in other problems, we have two fractions here, 27, or x over 27, and 3 over 9. We want to get rid of the denominators in both of those fractions. So let's start by taking this whole equation and multiplying it by 27. So you multiply the whole equation by 27, and you're going to get 27, these canceled, and you're left with an x on this side. And on this side, you're going to get 27 times 3. 27 times 3 is 81 over 9. And we know 81 over 9 is 9. So when we compared this ratio with this ratio, saying that they were equivalent ratios, we found that the x, the numerator, was 9. Now that doesn't mean much because we didn't really say what the ratios were representing, but if you knew what the ratios were representing, the 9 would make more sense. Here's another example over here. They're going to end up solving this ratio for x. You'll see they use cross multiplication. They multiply this side by 6, this side by 12. Alright, they're just canceling out the denominators of a fraction. They end up with 12x equal 24. Solve it by dividing by 12, and you get x equal 2. So that's what we're going to be doing in this section, is we're going to be solving proportions. Seems like a pretty easy task. We're also going to have to write proportions in this section, but writing a proportion is pretty easy. So we're going to look at this volleyball example. A volleyball team plays 14 home matches and 10 away matches. And it wants us to find the ratio of home matches to away matches. Well, that's easy. We just take the number of home matches and divide it by the number of away matches. So what we're going to say here is we got 14 home matches over 10 away matches. We're going to use division. Whenever it says home matches to away matches, we're going to use division to take the home matches and divide out the away matches. We could reduce that, 14 over 10, to 7 over 5. And what that's telling us is every 7 home matches, we've got 5 away matches. We can also find the ratio of home matches to all matches. If we want to do that, we just take the number of home matches, 14, and divide it by the number of total matches, which would be 14 plus 10, which is 24. This gives us a ratio of home matches to all matches. We can reduce that. Looks like it'll reduce by 2 on each side, or 2 on the top and the bottom, so that's 7 over 12. And what this is telling us, this is giving us a percentage here. All right, the ratio of home matches to all matches. If we divided this and multiplied it by 100, that would tell us the number, or the percentage of home matches to all matches that we play. This is like what you would do if you wanted to figure out your grade on a math test. Now we're going to solve this proportion. And we're going to solve this proportion by actually canceling out a fraction like we've been doing in all our other problems. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply this whole equation by 4. By multiplying this equation by 4, we're going to cancel out this fraction x over 4. So when we do that, the 4 is going to cancel with this 4. And then on this side, we're going to take 4 times 9, which is 36, and 1 times 20, which will end up being 36 over 20, equals, on this side we get x. So all we have to do is cancel out the fraction, and we end up getting x by itself. X is 36 over 20. So we've got this ratio of 36 over 20. We could reduce that down if we wanted to reduce this down by 4 on each side, so that would be 9, or on the top and the bottom, so that would be 9 over 5. So our answer for this problem would be 9 over 5. Now we're going to take a look at solving this proportion. This proportion is a little different because now the variable we're looking for is in the denominator. But we're going to do the same thing. We want to cancel these fractions, so we're going to multiply the whole thing by x to cancel the first fraction. We multiply everything by x. Well, on this side the x's will cancel. On this side we have to multiply the x times the 4. So this side we get rid of this. But on the other side, we're going to end up with 4x over 1 equals 12. But the over 1, we know that anything over 1 is just itself, so we can write 4x equal 12. And then divide by 4 on each side, and x is going to equal 3. So all you have to do to solve these proportions is cancel out both fractions by multiplying by the denominator and then solving for x.